it's going to be different because we're set up different. So I'm like, where is everybody? You're all different places. Seems like life just changed. You can't just, life can't stay the same. You know, everything's changing. You know, in the midst of the COVID pandemic and everything else, with civil unrest and all of these terrible things, you know, there was a great change in our lives that just threw me for a loop. I mean, I was just so unbelievably, I didn't know where to turn. You ever been like that?
Yeah.
Where you just didn't know where to turn?
Yes.
Because Walmart had changed their store. And they had moved, have you ever noticed? They've moved things. It's like, my life is unhinged. Because I go to Walmart every day. Not because, well, because that's the only place in Lake Wales really to get food. There is a Publix, but anyway, there is a price to be paid for the changes that are in our lives, and things are changing. Things are still changing with, you know, now we got the Delta variant or whatever, you know, and it's like, what's next? You know, there's going to be a third shot. You know, it just keeps snowballing. And you know, for all of this, I was talking to a friend, he says, I just want truth. I'm looking for clarity. I'm just looking to know how to go forward. And this is not unusual because we've been looking for this for quite a while, as this one television show from the 1950s. You may have seen it. You're not old enough to remember this show. It actually started on radio. Remember one of the multiple vitamins? Bob Barker. Look at Bob Barker. Truth or consequences. It's like, you know, where there is a truth, but if you don't pay or follow the truth, what happens? There's consequences. And there was actually a town that was known as Hot Springs. The guy who was running the show while it was on radio made a bet. He said that if a town will rename themselves Truth or Consequences, we will come and do the show from there. And Hot Springs in New Mexico renamed themselves legally. There is a town now called Truth or Consequences. It happened in 1950. Can you imagine, why would you, there are many people who have renamed towns for reasons, like to honor someone. I remember after the assassination of John Kennedy, that Idlewild Airport was renamed to JFK. You know, the Kennedy Space Center, that was called what? Before that it was Cape Canaveral. You know, renaming things, the truth or consequences. And yes?
They do a lot of streets like that after people's names, famous people.
Yeah, very good, they do. They rename streets. Which brings up the question, what is the #1 most common name for a street in America?
Washington.
No.
Washington.
No.
Main Street.
No. Not First Street. No. Second Street. Second Street is the most common name because people take First Street and they rename it. So they go to somebody or whatever. So Second Street or Second Avenue is the most common street name in America. And we go through these periods of life. We heard George talk about that there were consequences to Joseph's arrogance. As a young man, remember he said, I'm the bee's knees. I am special. You guys are going to bow down. Let me tell you about my dreams. Remember that? And what was the result of all of that? What were the consequences?
Jealousy.
Jealousy, rage. his brothers threw him into a dry well. Probably was injured bouncing on the rocks on the way down. And then there was all this time that happened where he was put into Potiphar's care, and then remember, he was unjustly accused of rape, and then he was thrown into another prison. Just these consequences, and they seem like they pile up. And this happens with Moses and the Israelites, because remember, Moses went up on the mountain to receive God's word, and what did they do?
They built a calf.
They built a golden calf, and then they had a party.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the guy who took us out. And now, there's a price to pay. Have you ever experienced anything like that in your life, where you went down a wrong path,
Yes.
and then there were consequences for it?
Yes.
Does it make it feel any less painful? No. It's that there's still a price to be paid. This is not karma. This is, God says, whatever a man sows, he reaps. And we see this with the nation today, that Moses comes down, sees them, and then he sees the people, and what are they doing?
Running wild.
What do you think running wild means?
Do whatever they want.
Do whatever they want.
Wasn't a birthday party.
It wasn't a birthday party. I like that. They were out of control. Out of control.
Aaron let them.
Aaron let them, yeah, and also Aaron led them. Because he's the one who said, hey, give me the gold, and what will happen? I'll make an idol. As a leader, he was leading them away. So they were running wild. They were just removed all control. They just took away anything that said, no, I won't do that. And there's really a hint, more than a hint, of sexual activity going on with this. They were running wild. They were out of control. Aaron let them out of control. Doesn't sound like a good situation, does it? Doesn't remind you of any people or any country around us, does it?
No.
And it made them, the net result, what was their public relations?
Laughing stock.
They were the laughing stock. What does it mean to be a laughing stock?
Disrespected, disregarded.
Disrespected, disregarded. People go, ha! Look at those guys. Look at those people. Look at what they're doing. So they are the laughing stock. So Moses comes to the entrance of the camp. He gets in front of them. So this is the first thing. He gets in front of them, and what does he say?
Whoever is for the Lord, come to me.
Whoever is for the Lord, come to me. So what is he doing? He's exercising leadership. He's saying, do you want to change? He gets in front. What does it mean to be for the Lord, Judy? What do you think that means, to be for the Lord?
Agree with all he is.
Agree with him, accept what he says, and to align your life, get ready to move, because he has something for you and I to do. There's a song, who is on the Lord's side? Who will serve the King? Who will be his helpers, other lives to bring? Who will leave the world's side? Who will face the foe? Who is on the Lord's side? Who for him will go? We are on the Lord's side, Savior, we are thine. And that's what he's asking, he's calling, who's there? But he doesn't explain why yet. He then goes on to say, he says, okay, these are the guys who are for the Lord. Okay, get ready. He says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do what? To get your sword? To then do what with your sword? To go back and forth? And to do what with the sword?
Kill your brother, friend, and neighbor.
Kill your brother, friend, and neighbor. What's your reaction to that?
Scary.
Scary.
Hard to follow.
Hard to follow.
He's nuts.
He's nuts. Yeah.
Don't upset God.
Yeah, don't upset God. Don't, what's going on? Here we want this loving, fluffy teddy bear of a God who, when I ask, he will move heaven and earth to give me what I want. Right? No. God says, it goes back to the idea of that they became a laughing stock. God's reputation was at stake, and his reputation by what they had done was damaged. It was hurt. And so God's response is, you want to be in control? Fine. You're going to, you reap the wind, you sow the wind, you're going to reap what? The whirlwind. So, killing your brothers and your neighbors and your friends. It sounds, what? Brutal, harsh, evil. What's up with this, God? But God is not in the business, first of all, of having his name dragged through the mud because of who he is. And secondly, he responds. When people try to put his name down, God does not sit around on a rocking chair and say, oh, we'll just let it go. I'm bigger than that. No, God responds. Here are some incidents. First of all, in Acts 12, we have Herod, who appears before the people, and he comes out dressed, and he makes this great speech. And how do the people respond? This is the voice of a God, not of man. And what happens? How long does it take? Immediately, because Herod did not give God the praise, did not give God the glory, what happens?
Angel of the Lord struck him down.
Angel of the Lord strikes him down, and he's eaten by worms. I don't know about you. That sounds like a bad way to go.
Yeah.
But does God sit around and allow people to take glory away from him?
No.
No. Yes.
Just a thought from what the pastor was preaching this morning, is that I noticed that whatever Joseph did, he gave all the credit to God. If he would have taken that credit for himself, I think the outcome would have been a lot different.
Oh, absolutely. Very good point. God is the God who is in control. He is the God of all power. We're not. We don't have those things. So as life shifts and things happen, we need to recognize and acknowledge. It's not just to say it in our head, but we have to say it with our voice. We have to say it with our lives. God, you are in control. Thank you. We want to give you, let people know that this is from you. Here's another one about the Lord's Supper. I was thinking about this last week when we celebrated the Lord's Supper. Paul says, those who eat and drink without discerning the body of Christ eat and drink what? Judgment. That doesn't sound like a nice word. Judgment on themselves. That's why, how many?
Many.
Many of you are weak and sick, and a number have fallen asleep. This is not gentle Jesus, meek and mild. This is the God of the universe. And there were these, what were called koinonia feasts. People, it was a covered dish. People would bring food and they would share it. And some people would just bring a little. They would just get a box of cookies from Publix. But when they went through the line, they loaded up on the ribs and the fried chicken and the roast beef. And the people at the end of the line, there was nothing left. They're saying there's something bigger than the meal. It's who God is. God's person, his nature, was being trampled. And the result is people were weak and sick and dead. And this is within the church. This is within the community of believers. Don't think we're immune from this. And the last one is the infamous story of Ananias and Sapphira. They sell a field, they keep some of it back, but say, we're giving it all. And what happens? The first one, Ananias comes back and Peter says to him, you have not just lied to human beings, but you've lied to who? God. And what happens? He died. He falls over dead. His wife, Sapphira, comes back. They go back over the whole thing again. Is this what really happened? Oh yeah, we gave it all away. How could you conspire to test the Spirit of the Lord? And she dies. What do you think the impact of this on the church, on the community was?
People thought long and hard.
Thought long and hard? God's not somebody to be messed around with. And great fear seized all who heard what happened. How popular is the idea of fear of the Lord today?
Not very.
Not very. Why, do you think?
People just are too busy, they claim.
They're too busy?
I don't think, because we haven't seen what the Lord can do.
Because we haven't seen what he can do?
They believe they're in charge of their own life.
They're in charge of their own life?
I don't think that the people of today, the fear of the Lord has not been taught in a lot of the churches.
It hasn't been taught. People will do whatever they can because we don't want to offend. God is someone to be feared. He is the one who has made us the way we are. He has made the universe the way it is, and we are to align ourselves with that. And not to do that is a slap in his face. You can have all the arguments you want. You can have all the facts you want. But when you have gone through the radar detector coming out of an airport, like I did, where the posted speed limit was 25, and I got pulled over doing 64 and accelerating, I deserve the full weight of the law. I did. I did. And all the punishment that goes along with it. And the pain. But we don't want to talk about that. So here we have these people who have kicked the name of God in the mud for everyone around them. So they do this, and Moses then goes back to God and says, you know what, God? You have every right to do this, because why? These people committed how much of a sin?
Great sin.
A great sin they've committed. They've made themselves gods, but what?
Please forgive their sin.
Please forgive and blot out. Now, none of you are old enough to remember typewriters. But when you were typing on a typewriter, I would make mistakes. I know. And you couldn't just backspace over it like on a computer screen on your phone. You had to do what? White out. And then for the 4 carbons that were behind them, you had to go through and erase them.
I didn't know you were that old. I remember that.
Yeah, I'm that old. He says, this great sin, and to forgive them. Forgive sin means to carry it away. Who does the carrying away of sin?
God.
God does. We cannot. You look at a law. When I got pulled over for doing 64 and accelerating in a 25 zone, I could have pulled out my wallet and said, hey, look at all the trips I've made. Look at all the miles I've driven under the speed limit. Doesn't that count for anything? Does it? What does it count for? Nothing. Bumpkus. 86. Nothing. The law, nada. It doesn't. So the only way to blot out sin is for God to do it. There is no earning enough brownie points. God must do it. And the Lord replied, whoever has sinned against me, what is he going to do?
I will blot out.
You want me to blot out their sin? I'll blot them out. This is tough stuff. Again, like to cut out. Now this is a picture of I'm going to show you, of Thomas Jefferson's Bible. I don't know if you've ever heard about Tom. He bought a Bible and he read his Bible. But do you know what? There were things in the Bible he didn't like. Do you have parts of the Bible you don't like? Yeah, there are parts that really hurt. But Thomas Jefferson said, I can outsmart God. Because what I'm going to do, what he did is he got a knife and he cut out those parts of the Bible he didn't like. It's true. That's what he did. That's how he tried to blot out what God had said. God is great. God is good. God is loving, but don't mess with him. He's someone to be respected. I was in a family and I was deeply disrespectful to my mom and dad. Did I say deeply disrespectful?
Yes.
I can't find a word that's strong enough to tell you how disrespectful I was. I was horrid to them. They gave me life. They gave me clothing. They gave me education. And how did I return to them? I was a disrespectful son. And one day, I heard a guy talk about, this is after I was a Christian. I became a Christian, and guess what? I was still disrespectful. I hadn't changed one iota towards my dad or mom. But God wasn't done with me. He inflicted some pain that I deserved. And I heard this guy explain about being respectful to them for your parents because it was like showing respect to God. And God just crushed me. So I couldn't wait to get home. This is long before cell phones. Yeah, there was a phone, but you put the coins in, remember? And it was a long distance call, so you had to sit there and shove coins in. Give me the long distance operator kind of thing. So I get my dad on the phone, and I'm weeping and saying, Dad, I am so sorry. I have been so disrespectful. Will you forgive me? To which he said, I want to see it. I thought those were, I was like, oh, don't you want to just forget it? No. He wanted to see it. And it began a process of rebuilding. The pain that we inflict on God, we blow it off. The pain that I inflicted on my family needed to be rebuilt. So God says, I'm going to blot them out. But now you, Moses, you've asked to have them forgiven, but now I have something for you to do. What are you supposed to do?
Go lead.
Go and lead. In spite of all this, God says, yeah, there's judgment coming, there's a punishment. I'm not done with them, and I'm not done with you. I've got a role for you to play. I want you to go. I want you to lead them. And the people he was leading were not perfect. Imagine that. Being in charge of a group of people, an organization, if you will, where not everybody's perfect. Which takes commitment. He said, I'm giving you this role, you go do it. So what's our response to this, to these kinds of situations where we're in a group of people in our family and friends and neighbors and country where there are a lot of people saying, God forgets you. Are we just to point our finger? Or are we to do what Moses did? He prayed for their forgiveness, asked God, please forgive them. And then God said, oh, by the way, I have a role for you in this. I've got something for you to do. So let's do what we're instructed to do in 1 Peter. This is from the Message. It says, first thing we're supposed to do is what?
Roll up your sleeves.
What does it mean to roll up your sleeves?
Ready to go to work.
Get ready to go to work, to do activity. It's Jacob gave Joseph a coat, right? The coat of many colors. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you read it, maybe you saw the Broadway musical, The Coat of Many Colors. Interesting thing about the coat. Everybody wore coats, but the people who went out to work wore short coats. The coat that Joseph received from his father was not a short coat. It was a long coat, which meant he doesn't do the work. The workers wear the short coat. The people who have the long coats, they're management. They're the executives. And that was part of what. Remember when they grabbed him, what did they do? They ripped the coat off of him, right? And then they soaked it in blood to take back to his dad. Roll up your sleeves. Get your head in the game to be partially ready, just to play games with it, right?
Totally right.
What does it mean to be totally ready?
All in.
All in. I was reading an article about the new general manager of the Cleveland Browns. Now, growing up in Baltimore, the Cleveland Browns, boy, we hated them. They were nothing. And for the last, 20 years, they've been a joke in the NFL. They have just gone through coaches and quarterbacks, and now he's trying to rebuild a winning tradition. He wakes up at 5:40 every morning, goes and works out, spends a full day in meetings and with his people, the team, and the administration, and then he's home by 7:40 to put his children to bed. He is all in. He's totally committed to it. And he talks about it, he says, there was a thrill. He talks about the thrill of being involved, the excitement of rebuilding. You know, we can look at our country and we can just, you know, hang our head. And there is a reason to hang our head. Don't get me wrong. But there's a thrill, there's an excitement about what God could do. And will we be a part of it? I was listening this week about in the late 1800s in Wales, which is northern part of England, there was a revival. And people just started coming to God, repenting, and coming together as a community. And one of the effects, and most of these people, a lot of the men worked in the coal mines. Not exactly, you know, white collar workers. But they went into, and they heard about how God loved them, how God had paid the price, how God had come down in Jesus, and he was calling them. And hundreds, thousands of these miners gave their lives to God through Christ. And they got convicted. Because they had been stealing tools and taking them home under their coats or whatever. They felt like they weren't being treated right. God moved in them. They started to return their tools. So many tools got returned that the company told them to stop doing it because they had no place to put them. They had just run out of space. There was a mountain of tools. When we roll up our sleeves and get totally in, there's no place that God can't touch or move in our lives, and that we are not to slip back, not to lazily slip back. Lazily slip back where? Where you once were. There is an energy in it, and we're not to be doing just what you feel like doing. Isn't that the American life dream? To do what you feel like doing. We're not to be like that. We're to have a life that's shaped by God's life, and to be energetic and blazing. We're supposed to have energy for it. He will give us the energy, the desire. We are to have our head in the game, to be pulled into a way of life shaped by God's life. That means what for us? Change. To be willing to be changed. To say, God, you want something new and different for me. But it's not always going to come easy, because there will be pain involved, as we heard in Joseph's life. I'm sure each of us in our own way could tell a story about pain in our life. The question is, what does God do with it? Rick Warren said these words. I just had to quote him. He said, I've had a lot of pain in my life, and in fact, almost everything I've learned in life, I've learned through pain. That's because God is more interested in making me a man of character than he is in making me comfortable. God is more interested in making you a man or woman of character than he is in making you comfortable. How do you respond to something like that?
I think most people learn better if they are uncomfortable and to go through something to get to the other side.
We learn when we're uncomfortable. The pressure of it. Do you want pasta? Anybody here like pasta? You like eating spaghetti, noodles, whatever? Let me tell you, it doesn't grow like that. You gotta press it. You gotta roll it. You gotta cut it. When I make crab cakes, first of all, you gotta get the crab meat. You gotta take the crab meat from where?
The crab.
Out of the crab. That's a lot of work, let me tell you. And then you gotta crush fresh saltine crackers. You gotta beat them up. You gotta get them real small. You think the saltine crackers are like, oh, no, no. But when you put it together, the meal is fabulous. But to get there, it took a lot of work. Rick Warren goes on to say, you will never, if you never had any pain or difficulty in your life, you would never grow to maturity. You don't know God is all you need until God is all you've got. I don't think it gets any better than that. You don't know God is all you need until He's all you've got. He lost a son, yeah, committed suicide at the age of, I think, 25. The pain. The pain is a platform for God to change us, but the pain is also a platform that in some way legitimizes and gives, and people will listen to us. Rather than talking about the glories of the Christian life, there's nothing wrong with that, but to say, I've had pain too. I may not have experienced exactly what you're going through, but I've got pain. And God, in order to have us as His sons and daughters, guess what? He went through pain. He sent Christ. We are not our own. We were bought with a price. A price always involves pain. So glory God in your body. You were bought with a price, both in 1 Corinthians. And the idea of bought with a price is, you ever been to like a marketplace where there are all these stalls? That was, that's where they didn't have any Publix, they didn't have a Walmart or a big box store. They had a square and people set up individual little shops. And you went around the individual, you went to buy, vegetable, eggs, different places. This was, God has bought us. He went to all the right places and bought all the right things. He paid all the price for you and me. When someone, and the idea of buying is what? Exchanging, right? You don't just walk up and say, that's, no, you have to exchange something for it when you buy it. And he said, that's the whole point. He exchanged himself. He exchanged himself, which was, let me tell you, painful for him. He experienced pain for you and me. In order for us to be the kind of people that God wants us to be, to do the things He wants us to do, to say the things He wants us to say, there will be pain involved. There was a woman who won her first gold medal for the Philippines. She's a Sergeant Diaz. Here is her gold medal performance.
4 gold. Silver in Rio. Will it be gold in Tokyo?
Get out.
Halfway through. For gold!
Hang on!
Did she jerk it?
She did.
Diaz did! 3 white lights. It's gold for the Philippines.
The first gold medal in the history of the Olympics for the Philippines. Looks good, on stage, the lights, the performance. But to get there, look at what she had to do during the pandemic to get there.
Wait, 1, 2.
This is going for color.
She couldn't get out to a gym because of the pandemic. The gyms are shut down. What are you gonna do? You're gonna just, suck your thumb and say, oh, woe is me? What did she do?
Made something work.
She made something work. She started where? Right where she was. She didn't have to go anywhere. She started right where she was. And then, but she didn't stop there. She then would go around, once the pandemic came around, she'd say, let me show other people how to do this. Now look at the sticks in both of these pictures. Are these, well-rounded sticks? No, these are just pieces of bamboo that they whacked off. They took what they had, they used what they had. They didn't have to go and get on Amazon to order the barbells or to get, a bar that's made from tungsten steel or anything like that. They started where they were, they used what they had, and they were faithful in the journey. There is a price to be paid. To get the gold medal, there's a price to be. There's an awful lot of weights to be lifted, and if she didn't have it, so she improvised. There was another guy, he's a hurdler, Hassel. He won a gold medal in the Olympics for Jamaica. Interesting story about him. He almost didn't make it. He took a bus to go from where he was living to come to where the event was being staged. Guess what? He got on the wrong bus. He was taken way out of his way. There's no way he could get another bus to go back. He approached a helper, explained this situation. She reached into her pocket, gave him cab money. He then took that money, got in the cab, literally raced to the race, and won the gold medal. Great story. But in the words of Paul Harvey, the story's not over, because he went back.
I'm standing right next to it. Yeah. Remember me?
Oh, you, hi. Yeah, really?
Yes, I am back to repay you and show you something. You were instrumental in me getting to the final that day.
Really? Really? You
Yes.
did?
I won. That's just because you helped me
Thank you.
to get to the stadium. Yes, so I took a shirt for you as well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, yes.
That's me?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I took back your money.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
I just think that's a great story. It's a little hard to hear. It's a little hard to hear, but he went back, found that same worker, repaid, told her the little part that she played in his winning the gold medal, and then expressed his kindness, and he did pay her back. So, he was willing to pay back for the people who helped him. Now, they both have a story that they can share, and they shared it around the world. So God can use people like you and me right where we are. And, of all places, I keep talking about Walmart. This is the Lake Wales Walmart. Marion and I walked into the Garden Center on Saturday, and she had found that they had these peanut plants that just flower. They don't really produce peanuts, they're a ground cover. And they're kind of nice, they look a little different, they're hardy. And so we wanted to put more in. So she found there were some there. I said, let's go get more. So we go back, and we go into the garden center, and there's the greeter, right? There in her little thingy, little yellow whatever, greeting us. And said, welcome to Walmart. "Oh, thank you." She said, "Are you having a good day?" I said, "It's a glorious day God has given us." And from there we went, that there was a God, and she said, "Well, you know, I've been thinking about God a lot these days. Is he really real? Who is?" And I said, "He is real, and Jesus is God the Son, and also the Son of God. He is both man and God, fully man, and he died for our sins. And that's why he came. He came to bring us back to him." And we had a little conversation right there. Just a greeter at Walmart. And I gave her a card and said, "You know, I'd love to talk to you more about it." God will bring us into these situations where we have a choice of what to do. And God will take us through the pain, through all those different steps, and bring us out in places we just don't know. But it's by being faithful in the big things, no, the little things. Some of you know I've been doing a lot of writing and things. And sometimes you wonder, is anybody listening? Is anybody taking this in? Does it really ever matter? Have you ever said that about your life? Does it really matter? Is anybody out there listening, watching? I got an email last Monday, out of the blue. You know what I mean when I say out of the blue?
Yes.
Totally surprised, totally unexpected, totally from left field. And I've been invited to write for Saddleback Church, for their small group network. Undeserved.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very thankful for that. I'm humbled by it, but it's like, why me? And yet, just like in Joseph, I'm not on Joseph's level, but through the baker and the wine cup giver, and through Potiphar and being thrown into a dry well, God can open up a door. And that he would open up a door, he can open up a door for you. This is not about me. This is about how God can use you and open up doors. And you just never know where they're going to take you. You just never know. You know, this all started because I have a friend who moved to Lake Wales, and he moved away, and we kept in touch, and he told me about a guy named Steve. So I introduced myself to Steve, and I've been emailing Steve every so often over the years. And out of nowhere comes this. God arranges the pieces. It's not about a big thing, it's about doing the thing God has put in front of us. Being faithful. I have a dear friend who lives in another part of the country. He's just finished a very successful long-term ministry. 30-some years. This guy is gold. And now he's retired. And he's thinking, now what? And you know, with COVID, it's also, I used to interact with people a certain way, and you can't do that anymore. You know, it's very different. Now what? I want to really just encourage you, to challenge you, myself included, to be out and about. Just the people you meet, whether they're, you know, at Walmart, Publix, you know, anywhere. That is a God-ordained encounter. I'm not saying, you're not gonna lead everyone to Christ, you're not gonna get down on the ground and kneel, but just that you could offer hope. Hope in a world that has just gone crazy, that is so empty without hope. So that's what I want you to do this week, and if you're looking for a way to do it, humbly, I got this website, share it with people, because it becomes an avenue that you can start the conversation. I shared my website about hope with some people in my business community, okay? I got a note back from someone, if you had told me of all the people, this person would never, ever, never, ever, never, ever, never reach back. But she did. And she was thankful about people needing hope, because a friend of hers' son just committed suicide. That's why I thought about you. And said, would you be willing to talk to this parent? I said, I would be humbled if you would make that connection. I have no idea where it's going to go. But just being available. As one writer put it, let us be available and burnable before our God, who is a holy fire. Let me pray. Our Father and our God, I pray that you would use us here. There's certainly nothing special about us, but everything is special about you. And so you are great, mighty, special God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We worship you. Let us be your hands, your feet, your voice, and in this world of just utter lostness, we be people of hope, because there is a God who loves them and gives hope. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope you all have a great week. It's so great to see you. And thanks for the tip about the logo. Bill solved the problem of the church logo, or the question about it.
There's a logo that you took off of the church.
Yeah.
Well, George told me over a year ago, really, we changed our logo. It was